Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's just jump right into it. Because today we are taking a topic that's usually buried under a ton of heavy emotion and cultural bias, and we're completely reframing it. We're bypassing the usual tired emotional debates to look at the fascinating mechanics of how humans actually choose a life partner. Whether you personally favor love or arranged marriages, we're going to look at both of them today as complex, real-world systems.
But before we even start comparing these two systems, I want you to stop for a second and really think, what problem is marriage actually meant to solve? It is so easy to get totally caught up in the romance or the family approval or just the big wedding day itself, right? We completely forget to ask what fundamental human problem this institution was built to handle in the first place.
Section 1. The true purpose of marriage. We've got to set the baseline here. Because if we don't define the goal, well, we can't really judge the methods used to get there.
And this is exactly why people end up talking past each other in this debate all the time. Just look at these really hard human questions. One person's out there arguing for love marriage because, well, they're super focused on emotional choice. But then someone else argues for arranged marriage because they're prioritizing family stability and making sure values line up. The funny thing is, they aren't actually arguing with each other. They're literally just looking at totally different parts of the exact same complex machine.
Think about choosing a partner kind of like picking out a home in a really busy, unpredictable city. Let's say Karachi. You wouldn't just look at a house and ask, hey, does this place look nice today? No way. You absolutely have to ask, is this going to work when the power cuts happen? What about when unexpected guests show up out of nowhere, or when the daily routine just gets totally chaotic? A good marriage is exactly like a good house. It can't just look pretty on the surface. It structurally has to hold your life together. So the absolutely crucial point here is this definition. This is basically our anchor for the entire rest of the explainer. Marriage is, at its core, a long-term coordination system for intimacy, trust, and shared responsibility. I want you to keep that system-based thinking in your head because it literally changes everything about how we look at love versus arranged marriages.
All right, section 2, choice versus structure. Because the real difference here isn't actually who you marry, it's how the decision gets made.
Think about it like buying a new smartphone. Sometimes you want to walk right into the store, hold the phone in your hand, test out the camera, and compare all the features yourself, right? That's your choice-based approach. But other times, you might just ask a really tech-savvy friend to filter the options for you and tell you which brand is actually going to hold up over time. That's a structure-based approach. Neither is wrong. Both are just different ways to lower your risk and avoid making a terrible long-term decision.
Notice the totally different starting points here. Choice-based systems, which we call love marriages, put the couple right at the absolute center. The whole engine driving the decision is personal attraction and direct one-on-one conversation. On the other hand, structure-based systems, or arranged marriages, put the social network at the center. They lean heavily on family knowledge, social reputation, and third-party filtering to screen out the major risks long before the couple even connects on a deep level.
Okay, here's a super simple mental model to carry with you. In a love marriage, the biggest strength is incredible personal ownership. You chose this. But the main risk, you might overvalue that initial attraction and totally undercheck your actual long-term fit. Now flip that around. Arranged marriage has the massive strength of strong external screening and a built-in support system, but its biggest risk is underweighting the couple's actual lived compatibility. Honestly, neither system is automatically better or worse. They're just optimizing for entirely different things. Moving on to Section 3, filter, test, and support. This is the actual pipeline from picking a partner all the way to long-term stability.
Let's break down this matrix because it's super important. Every single marriage system goes through 3 phases: a filter, a test, and a support system. In a love marriage, your filter is personal attraction, your test is the time you spend dating, and the support system is, well, mostly just the couple themselves. But in an arranged marriage, the filter is family background checks, the test is structured observation by the broader network, and the support system is the entire extended family. It's the exact same human pipeline, just managed in totally, completely different ways.
Now, let's be real. Love marriages have some pretty distinct blind spots. I mean, attraction is real data, absolutely, but it's incomplete data. Getting to know someone in a romantic setting can easily miss how you'll coordinate a super boring, high-stress Tuesday 10 years down the road. Like, how are they going to handle money? What happens when your families fundamentally clash? You can feel amazingly connected to someone and still be completely unaligned on the heavy structural stuff.
But arranged marriages have equally huge blind spots. A couple might share the same religion, social class, and language on paper. Literally everyone tells them it's a perfect match. But when it comes to lived reality, They might completely lack basic emotional communication. They might honestly never feel psychologically safe around each other. Arranged marriages run a real risk of confusing social compatibility with actual, personal, lived compatibility. They overlap sometimes, sure, but they are absolutely not the same thing. Which brings us to Section 4, the information gap. Basically, who gets to know what information and exactly when they get to know it.
Just contrast the order of how we gather information. In a love marriage, the couple figures out each other's emotional landscape first, right? And then they try to figure out the family and structural fit way later. In an arranged marriage, families lock down the structural and social fit first, and the couple learns about their emotional fit later. Guys, this order is literally everything. That early knowledge shapes the baseline assumptions of the whole relationship. And mismatched assumptions, that's often what actually breaks a marriage.
Take this real scenario from Pakistan that was highlighted in our source material. A family arranges a proposal. The education, the background, the intentions, it all lines up perfectly. Structurally, it's totally solid. But right after the engagement, this massive gap pops up. One person wants really open, direct communication and a lot of privacy, while the other naturally avoids hard topics and expects constant involvement from the extended family. The big takeaway here? Great upfront screening definitely does not guarantee a good lived fit.
Because eventually, real life is going to test all those early abstractions. Neither system actually removes uncertainty, they just manage it differently. The real test happens when life starts asking the much harder questions, like who handles pressure better? How do you repair things after a really bitter disagreement? Can you negotiate chores or finances without it turning into a massive power struggle? Those are the tests that reveal true compatibility, no matter how the marriage started.
All right, Section 5, choosing beyond romance bias. How we evaluate for actual long-term fit. You know, we so often confuse intensity with fit. Intensity is loud. It's incredibly convincing because it's just packed with all that early attraction and raw emotion. But fit is a lot quieter. It doesn't shout at you. It shows up in consistency. It shows up in mutual respect, in how quickly you bounce back after an argument, and in sharing a truly realistic vision of your future together. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Good marriage decisions are not built on romance alone, and they aren't built on structure alone. They're built on a realistic balance of both. By viewing marriage as a long-term coordination system, you can start to see both the brilliant strengths and the really critical blind spots of both models. So I have to ask you, are you choosing a partner just for the sunny days? Or are you actually building a foundation that can survive the unpredictable power cuts of life? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.